Hi, Misty and Sarah. Since I just now opened up the meeting, we'll give other folks just a couple of minutes to drift in here and then we'll get started. Do you all see my desktop, or do you see using digital products in your library program?
I see using digital products.
Oh, thank goodness. Thanks. I don't want you to see my desktop. It's a hot mess.
My to-do list is a hot mess.
Well, I have a to-do list sticky note, virtual sticky note on my desktop. I used to try to keep it really tidy, not anymore. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I bet a few more folks will drift in as soon as they're done with car rider duty, picking up their own kids, all that good stuff. So, hope you all are doing well and are making it through the week. To me, it has been an especially long week, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow at 4:30. So I hope that you guys get a good weekend, get some rest and some time away from work stuff this weekend too. So we're going to talk about using digital products in your library program. And I know that Misty and Lauren came to some PD that we had over the summer about digital products. And those summer sessions that were held were aimed at using digital products to assist in some other initiatives in your school. You know, we talked about ELLs, we talked about collaboration with teachers and that kind of thing. Today we're going to talk mostly about how you would use them as the purveyor of informational products in your school setting. So today's going to be much more basic, but I hope that it's going to be really, really practical for you. So let me, oops, here we go. Good grief. Okay, so just as a reminder, we do have the Using Digital Products Canvas course. If you haven't been in there in a while, or if you haven't gotten to peruse that course much at all, there is a wealth of information about the particular subscriptions that we have. Mine looks like this. Mine's got a big green rectangle on it. Yours might be a different color, but you should have it. I was very careful to try to get everybody added to it at the beginning of the school year. You'll find in that course, like I said, each product that we have in its own module. And those modules are pretty similar in that they have, you know, if there are any distinct features of the product in there, you'll find that. You'll find any navigational tips, any things that really make it unusual and stand out. You'll find all those things in there. Because each product is a little bit different, you know, some have more than others. You'll also find a collection of promotional items in there, posters, bookmarks, things you could put on your web page. Those are all collected in there for you if you wanted to make those available to staff and students. Probably one of the most convenient things that you'll find in there is a list of the off-campus login credentials. I hear people say a lot, oh my gosh, I was at home and I was trying to plan, or I was trying to look for something and I didn't have the logins, and so I couldn't even get in and get what I needed. Well, if you have, if you're enrolled in this Canvas course, as long as you can get into Canvas, you can get your hands on these logins. So every single module has a link to the login sheet, and there's also a set of files in there that you could download if you need a sheet to print out and give to your staff members. You can also allow or promote the idea that your staff members can join this Canvas course as well. In the top module, when you open up the course, you'll see something that says Getting Started. And this is just kind of back a couple years ago when I created this course, this was, these were required elements for any online Canvas course. I think that's changed now, but these are still in here. And down at the bottom, you'll see Sharing this course with others. There's a link posted in there that you can simply, you know, email to somebody or print it off and hand it to somebody. It's a pretty short link, and they can self-enroll in the course if you think that they benefit from it too. Any questions about that course? All right.
I took it this summer before you updated it. Should I go back and redo the lessons that weren't covered before?
You probably don't need to. I mean, the new stuff has been added. However, when we were at that July 9th full day of digital database training, we went through all those new things. So you probably wouldn't get any tips or tricks. It's basically for people who are unfamiliar or who haven't looked at them in a long time. I think you're probably good on that.
Okay.
All right, so Luann Nicely, who is one of our elementary librarians, was going to join us today to talk a little bit about how she uses these in her library program, but I don't see her in here yet. So I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit about maybe what you've done or what you don't know how to do or what you would like to do with some of these. And then if Luann's able to join us later, we'll let her jump in. So is there anybody who has used these successfully and you want to share a tactic, or maybe you've got a question about how you might share something effectively? Be sure to turn on your mic if you're going to speak.
Okay, I used pretty much the lesson that was probably beneficial for me as well, but it was pretty much trying to find 3 sources, or depending on the grade level, a little bit lower. And they pretty much had to make up a slide where the first day they looked at it and they just got onto any of the databases and they checked them out and they tried to find which one was right for them. So a lot of times 5th graders would get onto Pebble Go and they'd be like, I can't find anything. They'd be like, this might not be just right for you. So I would have them just kind of mess around with them and then just put 3 things that they liked, 3 sites that they liked, databases that they liked, and then I had them share which one they found the most value with, like a little think, pair, share type of thing, and they vice versa. So we did that just kind of as an intro.
Did you do that with all your kids, or was it just 5th grade?
I did it most of the kids. I do all the way till 2nd, and then kindergarten first, I'd set them on Pebble Go, and we researched about a mouse, and I just showed them how to get onto there, one little thing. So I kind of had that set up on iPads ready to go for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
I also want to know about Learn 360 a little bit more, because I've been asked to present about it, and I can come up with some ideas, but any other helpful thoughts about Learn 360, just to present it to the entire staff at our next meeting.
Okay. So who is your coach? Matt Pickwell? Is he your coach?
Yes.
Okay. He was probably at that session that I did last week about Learn 360. I have a few things that I'll be glad to share with you, Lauren. And do you know like how long your presentation is going to be? Do you have like 10 minutes or is it more like 30?
They asked how much time I needed, and I didn't specify it because I don't know. I've kind of guessed at about 15, but I don't really know.
Okay. All right. So today or tomorrow, I will send you out some stuff that I have. I think for elementary though, and this might be good for everybody on here to know. I think for elementary, Learn 360 is going to be more of a teacher tool, simply because I'm not sure young children have the kind of discernment that would allow them to sit down. Let's say they sit down and they're supposed to do some research on amphibians. I'm not sure that they would have the decision-making tree in their heads that would prevent them from going to the first video, watching all 30 minutes of that, second video, watching all 55 minutes of that. You know what, I think they might just go down the list and then they would never get anything done. So I think teachers would probably be the best ones to go in and curate some things out of there and then present a small package of the most pertinent materials to their kids. But I will send you that stuff in the next day or so. When's your presentation?
First Tuesday in October. And one of the ideas I had to begin with was just to just a hodgepodge of things like 5th grade ELA and maybe some math and just maybe even a ELL feature, and just be like, why do I care about this? Well, this is some of the things that you could do with your students. And so just kind of a broad touching of some stuff. They'd be like, oh, I can find this out, or I can, as a math teacher, I can put on some math games or something that have some type of a focus.
Okay. Well, I'll just send you some things and you can work them into whatever, format you have in mind. No worries. Okay. Let me see. All right. Well, I'm kind of worried about Luann. I'm going to have to check on her. But we'll keep going. And I wanted to share with you guys, I'm going to get out of this presentation for a second because I need to show you this. I'm going to share with you guys a segment that Sarah and I used to do with all new teachers. So New Teacher Academy this year that many of you attended is very different from how it's gone in the past. And used to, Sarah and I would be on tap to teach this session to everybody. And everybody always said that it was super, super helpful and effective for them. So I'm going to share it with you so that you might want to turn around and share it with some of your staff members. So can you guys see, can you still see my screen, but a different screen?
Yes, it's Canvas.
Canvas, yes, okay. So some of you may have already seen this, and that's okay. It's a good one to see again. But what Sarah and I found was that it was super important for us to sell people, whether it's teachers, whether it's students, administrators, didn't matter who it was. We needed to sell them on why they should spend their time in databases, because their everyday habits are going to tell them to do what when they need information.
Google.
Go to Google. Go straight to Google, or Yahoo, whatever their browser of choice is. But they're just going to go do a web search, right? Yep. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes it's not. So we were very deliberate about telling people why that's sometimes okay and why it's not, and when it's sometimes okay and when it's not. And people would say, like, I would watch grown people who, had been using the internet, and when they were in college, they'd been using databases for years, but you would see these huge light bulbs go off. So I'm going to share this with you too. So this is in the Using Digital Products course. This is sitting right in there. If you want to use it, the material's already here. It's already waiting for you. But we would start out the presentation with just asking folks to look at these two pieces of Titanic information on the screen. Now, those of us who are of a certain age probably remember the image on the left. You probably remember National Enquirer, all kinds of rags in the grocery aisles at the checkout counters. And they always had some kind of absurd, bizarro claims on the front, right? So this one's Titanic survivors alive, frozen in iceberg, found floating in the Atlantic. There's also some other absurd things on here, but we're going to pay attention to that one. Then over here, we have, as you can see, an Encyclopedia Britannica article about the Titanic. Now, to us, when we see these two things, we have the kind of discernment that allows us to say, okay, info on the left, trash. Info on the right, probably reputable. The kids don't have that yet. I mean, we're helping them get there, but they're not born with it, right? And it's especially confusing for them because for us, when we see something like this article or this cover page on the left, when we see that in the grocery aisle, we know that, hey, things in the grocery aisle are often exaggerated. I know that I can't always trust what I see here. But kids, they see items like this Encyclopedia Britannica article and absurd things like this guy here on the left coming out of the same browser window. There aren't any like really physical markers for them to look at and say, okay, one of these is good, one of these is clownish. So they don't have that built-in decision-making schema. So we think it's important to teach that to them. So we tell them that, okay, the reason that we want to use a database instead of just an open web search all the time is that databases have 3 important features that you won't necessarily find in a web browser, or excuse me, not a web browser, a search engine. And then we get into what those 3 things are. And here's the first one. Let me go down here and hit my button. Okay, so the first distinguishing feature for databases is represented here. When you are, let's say you're in a new town, you've gone on a business trip and you've just gotten off the plane and you're hungry and you say to yourself, I would love to have a burger. How do you know which burger joint to go to? You pull out your phone, you pick up, you do a search, burger joints near me, you get these 2 images that pop up here. What's present here that might help you make your decision?
The votes on the left.
We've got some votes.
And it looks like a real photo, like a person sat there and ate it versus a stylized.
Yeah, that looks like real life, not like you said, a stylized version, not a photo shoot. Yeah, we want to look, or we want to talk specifically about this down here. There are votes and there are reviews. Databases are reviewed, okay? Just like this hamburger over here. Someone else has already had an experience with it, and I'm choosing to trust that other person's experience. So here, if this burger gets a good vote, I might go and try this one versus this one over here that I really don't know how tasty it is. Same thing goes for databases. We know that they're reviewed by content area experts. That's why we pay them so much money, is because they have these folks on hand who are constantly reading through the article submissions that come across their desk, and they're accepting those that are reliable, reputable, and timely, and they're rejecting everything else. So we know that we can trust what's in a database because it's reviewed. So that's the first quality that makes a database more useful than an open web search. The second thing is, and this is down here at the bottom, but I hid it way down there so that when I'm playing this game with participants, I don't want them to see it first off. The second thing, come on friend, that databases have going for them is, it just gave it away. This one. Okay, we got 2 closets here. Closet on the left, I think this person really likes pink. Closet on the right probably looks like some of your students' closets. If your mom said to you, hey, go in the closet and get your favorite pink shirt, which one would you have the most success in? The one on the left or the one on the right?
Left.
Yeah, the one on the left. Why?
Organized and color coded.
It's organized, right? And it appears to be organized by type. We've got long sleeves on that top rack. We've got dresses together. We've got light colors hanging together. It's got a lot of framework placed on top of it. So databases are organized in a lot of that same way. Our articles are organized by type. They're organized by, whether it's a scholarly article, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a newspaper article, organized by date. We can organize them by author, by credentials. We can organize them lots of different ways. Now, the internet looks more like this closet on the right. It's not so organized. That's how the internet grows, right? People just post things and then we're left to kind of sift through the pile. Now, if your mom said, go find your favorite pink shirt, and you had to look in this closet here on the right, could you find the shirt that you're looking for?
Yeah, you might, but you're going to have to dig for it, aren't you? And we know kids don't like to dig. What happens when they do a web search? They click the first thing on the top and they go with it. Even if it's not entirely related, or even if it's not entirely informative, they go with the first thing on the top. And we don't want them to do that, because we know that often there are lots and lots and lots of pieces of information that are valuable that aren't on the top.
Well, in the one on the right, you still have to know what you're looking for.
You do. Absolutely, you do.
You know, versus if your mom said, go find a shirt you like, well, that makes the picture on the right even worse, because you don't even know what you're looking for.
Absolutely. And so part of the glory of the database is that, like we see on the left, even if you aren't really sure what you're looking for, the way things are laid out helps you get closer to your idea. So even if I don't know that I'm looking for a pink shirt, I might look at this closet on the left and say, wow, there are lots of nice pink shirts in here. I think I'll take one. Whereas if I'm in the closet on the right, I'm just going to pick up whatever's on top of the pile and say, this is good enough, and I'm going to put it on and wear it. And we know, those of us who are moms, that is not good enough. So databases are organized, and that makes finding relevant and useful things a lot simpler. The third thing databases have going for them is this. All right. So here we have two vehicles. We have Sarah's Miata on the left, and we have a tank on the right. Where might you drive a Miata?
On a Sunday afternoon cruising.
Yes. What else?
Everywhere, on any of the streets.
Any street.
It's street legal.
Yeah. How about the tank?
Not too many places.
Although I have had some people say I could drive that anywhere I want to. Just get in and roll over. But yeah, probably the desert, a war zone, someplace dangerous, right? Databases are kind of like these vehicles. These vehicles are specialized. The vehicle on the left is created for someone who has very casual needs, right? Like you guys said, a Sunday drive, zipping around. You know, if I'm taking, well, one kid to school,
She won't using it anymore.
Nope. I think it's parked in the garage now. But yeah, if I have some very basic casual needs, I can use my basic casual car. If I have some very specialized needs, perhaps I need to defend myself, perhaps I need to go to battle with someone or drive over some really rugged terrain, I need the vehicle on the right. Well, digital information is no different. Sometimes we have a very casual purpose. If we need to know, hey, what's the Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookie recipe? What time does that movie come on at the Regal Riviera? What's the name of some celebrity's new baby? We can totally use the internet for that. Casual information with a casual purpose. But if I have a specialized purpose, like an academic task, or if I have even if it might not be a school-related task, if I have a personal interest in something, but I need very reliable information, I'm going to use the tool that was built to accomplish that. And so that's going to be a database as opposed to the open web. So typically, by the time we go through these three things, people are like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. And so, oops, we got 10 minutes left here. We have found that it's often very helpful to begin a conversation about databases with this first, and then folks are typically a lot more receptive to the databases that you show them. So before we get into anything else, Do you have any questions about this particular presentation and the concepts that it tries to convey? No, we good on that? Okay. After we get through this part and we've got people drinking our Kool-Aid and really wanting to use databases, there are typically some very predictable things that we'll find that users need to know about databases in order for them to be really successful when they get in there. So I'm going to pull this back up and we're going to talk about, you know, if you're asked to collaborate with a teacher, you know, come in and show my kids how to use history and context, or help me help my kids use PebbleGo. Here are a couple of things that will be super helpful. They will need to know, like we just saw, instruction on the structures that make for a superior finding experience. That's what we just looked at, the organization, the reviews, the specialized purpose. They'll need to know that stuff. Second thing they'll want to know is, how do I use these tools? In some of the Gale databases that are for older users, you know, your in context stuff, you're going to want to be able to show them how to integrate with Google. You're going to want to be able to show them the topic finder. And if you're not familiar with that, if you just go in and kind of play with it, you'll find out very easily what it is. It kind of goes back to what Misty was saying about, you know, kind of knowing what you're looking for. If I know that I've got to do a report on amphibians, but I find out that there is there's an overwhelming body of literature out there about amphibians, the topic finder can help me narrow or find a kind of a tangential topic on that. You're going to want to show them how to use the citation features and that sort of thing. You are going to want to instruct them, and I'm on the third bullet now, on which tools are best for which needs, especially if you are in secondary schools and you've got a pretty deep menu of databases. You're going to want to be able to explain why they should use, for instance, world history in context versus global issues in context, depending on what their topic is. For your younger kids, you're going to want to be able to, and your older kids will need this too, but hopefully they're coming to you with a little bit of this. You're going to want to know, or you're going to want to be able to tell them why a journal article might be more comprehensive than, say, a local newspaper article. Okay. So you're just going to want to help them uncover all these different labels that are in the database that you understand, but they might not. And then you're going to want to talk to them about why. You're going to want to reiterate why the internet may not be their best choice because of the sheer volume of information and the anybody who lives in their mama's basement can post things up there. So this is the list of basics that you would need to cover so that users can get off to a good start with their database usage. As far as staff goes, and it sounds like some of you are gearing up for that, depending on what kind of schedule you have and how you're set up, you may or may not have the opportunity to instruct all of your students on how to use these databases. You know, you may not be able to get FaceTime with every single child in your building. Some of you can, but I find, especially with databases, I'm going to skip down to this third bullet here. A lot of times, you can, if you get some kids in some one-on-ones, you can show them how to use the databases, and often they can take it and show their teacher. I've heard so many people say, I had a kid show a teacher X, Y, and Z, and now the teacher wants me to come in and teach it to all of her classes. So sometimes you can kind of use a student as an ambassador. Sometimes you might have the opportunity to do a whole staff PD. I know that's rare simply because I know principals don't like to hold staff in meetings, as they like to not do that, as much as they can. So it's hard to kind of steal away a few minutes of a staff meeting, but if you can do it, go for it. One-on-one instruction with staff is often helpful, even if I've seen staff members come in and say something like, hey, do you guys have any books on the Cold War? And the librarian might say, well, I've got one or two, but let me show you this resource real quick, and just spend like 3 minutes showing them, just an article or two in a database, and often that'll get them hooked. We talked about modeling through students, and then of course you can also provide them with that link to the Using Digital Products Canvas course, and they might choose to go in there and look around for themselves. I've talked a whole bunch and tried to go really fast through here because, as you know, these Zoom meetings only give me 40 minutes. We have 3 minutes left. And so I want to see if you guys have any remaining questions, comments, or things you'd like some follow-up on.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. This is longer than 3 minutes, so we won't get to it. But I think one of the things that we're looking at right now in the building that I'm not very helpful with, because I'm new and because our administration is new, is trying to figure out what to add at the school level versus what is there. And we had a lot. And we're doing a survey right now, but just trying to figure out, I don't know, like how to, what to keep and what not to keep and what to spend money on versus what the county is doing. I don't know. We may be coming back to you with more questions.
Okay. I'll send you an email, Sarah, about, and tell me if you've seen it. I have some pricing on some of the more common things that people buy at the building level. I'll see.
If you have it in one place, that would help, because I've got sticky notes spread all over creation that I'm trying to gather and keep in one place.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And think a little bit too about, is it databases that you guys need, or is it other tools? Like, do you guys, would you benefit from, I don't know, like a quiz platform or something like that? So, think about what you guys are really looking for. And a great place to start with that is AASL's Best Apps and Websites. You can kind of look there and see if there's anything there. Some of it's free, some of it's not, that you guys might like to take a look at.
Yeah, and some of it too, like we subscribe to a lot of ebooks, or like the county, and then like Big Universe's ebooks, and in keeping TrueFlix or BookFlix, those are ebooks.
Right.
They're different providers, but they're still ebooks.
Yeah.
Is that the best? Yeah.
Okay.
What's the best use of our school resources beyond what you're getting?
Gotcha. All right, guys, we're about to get booted out. Thank you for attending. I will mark your attendance as soon as the MLP course goes live, and be sure to holler at me if you have more questions or need any help. Have a good night.
Thanks.